So the story kicks off with this guy who's casually chatting on his phone when BAM! A car crashes into him, his phone goes flying, shattering to pieces, and he's left lying on the road, totally helpless. Rough start, right? Next, we're in this busy office where everyone's working away and our guy, Ji Ning, is chilling by the window on a call with his girlfriend. But oh no, she drops the "should we break up" bomb. Surprisingly, he's weirdly cool about it and just says, yeah, sure. Wait, what? Naturally, the girl is shocked. I mean, isn't he supposed to, at least pretend to be sad? Nope, he's already over it. She's not letting it go though and asks, did you ever even love me? And his answer? Savage mode activated. I loved the old you. The innocent one. Ouch again. The girl's speechless, and as if that wasn't enough, he wraps it up with some show dignity to others advice, hangs up, and looks kinda bummed. What a roller coaster. Meanwhile, his boss, who's clearly been spying, comes over and gives him some sympathy cash, 100 yuan extra, because, breakup blues. But instead of being grateful, this guy dares to ask for 600 more, claiming it's his 7th breakup. 7th? Greedy much? Classic. As Ji Ning's heading home, his phone rings again. He's still salty from the breakup and assumes it's his ex, so he immediately starts scolding her for wanting to get roasted again. Turns out it's his dad on the other end. Cue instant embarrassment. To cover it up, he acts like someone else is misbehaving with him. Smooth, right? Switching to his sweetest tone, he asks his dad what's up. His father, worried about tuition fees, gets reassured that there's nothing to stress about. While chatting, the guy crosses the street as the light turns red. Suddenly, a kid drops a ball and runs after it, completely unaware of an oncoming bus. Like a hero, our guy dashes to save the kid, but, plot twist, ends up getting hit himself. His soul literally yeets out of his body and starts floating skyward, pulled by some mysterious force. Next thing he knows, he's in a completely different world, being scooped up by a massive monster. Apparently, this is all on the orders of Father Kui, the big boss of this strange realm. Soon, the guy is seated before Father Kui, who's angrily flipping through some cosmic paperwork. It turns out, the guy's death caused major chaos in the celestial schedule. He wasn't supposed to die until he was 98, but here he is, 80 years ahead of time. Understandably annoyed, the guy argues that he's the real victim here because, nobody wants to die early. Father Kui reluctantly agrees. It was their mistake. Seizing the moment, the guy demands compensation, 18 million yuan for his troubles. But of course, going back to his old life is off the table because the balance of yin and yang is a one-way street. Instead, Father Kui offers him a chance at reincarnation. Intrigued, the guy starts weighing his options because, hey, reincarnation sounds like a pretty wild adventure. Father Kui gives the boy several reincarnation options, starting with the chance to become a general. However, the boy isn't interested. Spending a lifetime as a soldier sounds exhausting. The second option is to become a great talent, but the catch is that he'd be both poor and perpetually single. Unsurprisingly, this doesn't appeal him either. And the third option is to become an emperor, a prestigious role, but the boy turns it down too. Managing an entire kingdom with his questionable morals and dealing with endless responsibilities? No thanks. At this point, Father Kui is losing his patience. Frustrated, he demands to know what the boy actually wants. With hesitation, the boy lists his absurdly ideal conditions. More money, fewer responsibilities, staying close to home, a high position with minimal work, and even enough time to sleep as much as he wants. Father Kui is utterly stunned. Eventually, though, a decision is made, and Father Kui informs the boy of his reincarnation process. Walk across the Nai Bridge, drink Megpo's soup to forget his past life, and then step into his new destiny. However, the boy is immediately suspicious. Given Father Kui's questionable reputation, based on books the boy's read, he worries if this reincarnation is really what he'd want, like becoming an ideal prince. But no leverage to negotiate, he reluctantly accepts his fate. As he crosses the Nahi Bridge, he meets a young, beautiful girl offering him the Mengpo soup. Holding the bowl, he gets emotional, remembering his childhood and his parents, tears welling up in his eyes. One tear even falls into the soup, but just as he's about to drink it, chaos erupts. A massive dragon emerges from beneath the bridge, causing the entire realm to crumble. The girl fights the dragon and yells for the boy to run. In his panic, he drops the soup and bolts, managing to cross the gate without drinking it. An absolute violation of the rules. The girl rushes back to Father Kui, warning him that the boy's actions will wreak havoc in the dragon life and death formation. Father Kui, looking utterly defeated, admits that peace in the Three Realms is now a distant dream. Ling is reincarnated into a pretty sweet setup, a rich family and a kingdom. Sure, it's not exactly royal treatment, but being born as a second generation of a wealthy family isn't too shabby. Fast forward 15 years and Ningir, his new name, has grown into quite the carefree young master. His favorite hobbies? Eating like there's no tomorrow and pretending to train in martial arts. After another hearty meal, Ning waddles off to train, though his parents are clearly suspicious of his routine. They've seen this act before. Meanwhile, Ning is actually lying flat on the ground getting a massage from his servant girls. One even warns him about the looming threat of being sent to kindergarten if his laziness gets out, but Ning isn't fazed. He's perfected the art of doing nothing. Ning's mother, Zhuor, can't help but worry about his future. She reminds her husband, Ji Ning, of Ning's questionable abilities and wonders how he'll ever convince anyone he's capable of taking over the family theater. Yishan recalls his brother's blunt assessment that Ning's talents are, well, non-existent, but Yishan still has faith, or at least a sliver of it, that Ning might surprise everyone. Just maybe. However, Ning's current slacker attitude isn't helping. Yishan decides it's time to send him to Kunlong, a place that might toughen him up. Zhuor is hesitant at first because Ning's just 15, but she reluctantly agrees. If this is what it takes to turn her son into a halfway decent young master, so be it. Meanwhile, Ning is napping peacefully after another big meal when he's jolted awake by news of the palace master's arrival. Panicking, he scrambles to fake some training, but it's all for nothing. The master cuts straight to the point. Ning is going on a training journey. Thrilled at the prospect of adventure, and probably excited to avoid actual responsibilities, Ning eagerly agrees. But there's a catch. He has to defeat a mystical beast in Kulong in 2 days. On the big day, Ning confidently struts into the challenge. At first, he feels relieved when a tiny snake slithers out of a hole. This'll be easy, he thinks. But the snake sheds its puny form, transforming into a massive, terrifying monster. Cue Ning's panic mode. Even Zhuor is worried, knowing this snake demon is no joke. Yishan, however, remains unbothered and confident that Ning needs the challenge. His brother Jilai, ever the critic, grumbles about Ning's future, but Yishan silences him with a reminder that bravery isn't about being fearless, it's about facing your fears head-on. As the snake looms large, Ning realizes that this challenge might just be the hardest meal he'll ever try to digest, but he's not one to give up easily. Despite the growing danger, Ning holds on to a shred of belief that his father wouldn't have chosen an opponent he couldn't defeat. If that's true, then there must be a way to win. Determined to stay calm in attack, Ning's first few strikes miss, and the monster retaliates. His second and third attempts result in him getting hit hard by the snake, further proving that this isn't going to be a walk in the park. Watching from the sidelines, his mother grows anxious and questions if maybe this is a bit too much for Ning. But Yishan, ever the optimist, or just super confident, brushes off her concerns, stating that Ning's potential surpasses even his own expectations. Of course, Ning's brother, Jilai, can't help but throw in his sarcastic 2 cents, mocking his brother's abilities. But Yishan simply tells him to wait and see, confident that Ning will prove himself in time. Meanwhile, Ning is trying to figure out why his attacks aren't working. He realizes that none of his strikes seem to penetrate the snake's thick scales. As he continues his struggle, his anger starts to build, and with it, an aura of crimson energy envelops him. This is no ordinary rage. This is the power of the 9 heavens at its 3rd level. The crowd watching is stunned by the transformation, but Yishan, unsurprisingly, knew this would happen. Fueled by his newfound power, Ning finally spots the weak point on the snake's neck and delivers a lightning-fast attack infused with a devastating combination of fire and thunder. This technique requires perfect footwork and precision, something even the most skilled fighters would need decades to master. It seems impossible that Ning could perform such an advanced move, unless, of course, he's been secretly training all this time. The snake demon, now enraged and out of control, thrashes wildly. Seeing the moment of opportunity, Yishan tosses Ning his mystical sword, commanding him to finish the beast once and for all and claim the sword as his own. Ning grabs the weapon with newfound confidence and slashes at the snake's head, delivering a fatal blow. The snake demon collapses defeated. Jilai is left speechless, his doubts shattered, but Yishan's face lights up with pride. He knew his son had it in him all along. But the victory doesn't come without consequences. As the demon snake's body disintegrates, another demon sword emerges from the chaos, and a new threat vows revenge against Ning for killing his son. This sets the stage for an even bigger challenge ahead, and the story is just about to get even more thrilling. Just as Ning starts basking in his victory, chaos erupts. The entire city is under attack. It turns out, the father of the snake demon Ning defeated isn't too happy about losing his son. He storms in with a terrifying army, ready to level everything in sight. A panicked servant rushes to Yishan, breaking the news. Meanwhile, the furious snake father himself heads straight for Kulong to deal with Ning personally. Poor Ning has no idea what's coming until Yishan orders him to run for his life. But before he can even think about escaping, the snake demon strikes, demolishing Kunlong and demanding Ning pay for his son's death. As if that's not bad enough, smaller demons surround Yishan, Zhuor, and Jilai. Jilai, being his usual hot-headed self, is furious at the situation, but he and Zhuor urge Yishan to focus on protecting Ning while they hold their ground. Now locked in a fierce battle with the snake demon, Ning does his best to fend off the relentless attacks. But things take a brutal turn when a powerful strike costs him his arm. Ouch! The pain is intense, but Ning isn't one to give up easily. With his unique body refining ability, he manages to heal and regrow his arm, just in time to keep fighting. Honestly, it's a good thing he has that trick up his sleeve, or things could have ended very differently. While Ning struggles to keep up, Yishan swoops in like the hero he is and pulls Ning out of harm's way. He brings Ning to Zur, who's overjoyed to see her son alive and in one piece, literally. Ning, ever the concerned son, tells her to go help Yishan, but it turns out his dad has everything under control. In a single jaw-dropping move, Yishan scares the snake demon away from Zifu. Not letting him off the hook, Yishan goes after him, launching a barrage of perfectly aimed arrows. The snake demon doesn't stand a chance and crashes into the water, thoroughly defeated. With the immediate danger finally over, everyone gets a chance to catch their breath, though peace is always short-lived in Ning's world. As Ji Ning and his mother return to the village, they're met with heartbreaking scenes of people struggling to recover. The chaos caused by the snake demon's attack has left its mark. Ning, reflecting on the events, admits that the snake demon had a point. It was their side that struck first by killing his son. But his mother reminds him of a harsh truth. While the demon's anger might have been justified, targeting innocent villagers was far from right. She gently but firmly reminds Ning that as someone destined to become an assistant general in the future, he must stand by his decisions and protect those who cannot protect themselves. When Ning gets back to the palace, Kiyui, his ever-dutiful servant, approaches with some surprising news. Chunkeo's father is here to see him. Wait, what? Ning is floored because he's always thought Chunkeo was an orphan, but Kiyui quickly clears it up, explaining that her biological father has been alive all along. Still processing the shock, Ning agrees to meet them. When Chunkeo and her father arrive, they greet Ning respectfully. Her father, looking a little nervous, starts explaining the situation. Apparently, tough times in the past had forced him to make the heartbreaking decision to sell Chunkeo to Jifu. But now, after finally getting his life back on track, he's here to make things right and reunite with his daughter. Ning, being the considerate guy he is, doesn't make a snap decision. Instead, he turns to Chunkeo and asks her what she thinks about all this. To everyone's surprise, Chunkeo shakes her head and says she doesn't want to leave. Her father is stunned. How could she want to stay, especially with the palace in turmoil after the whole snake demon incident? But Chunkeo is clear. She'd rather stick by her young master's side. Ning can't help but admire her loyalty. He understands her bond with him and appreciates her devotion, but he also gets where her father is coming from. The palace is far from safe right now, and Ning knows he has to think about her well-being. Even though it hurts, he makes the tough call and insists that she go with her father. Chunkeo is heartbroken, tears spilling down her cheeks, but she finally agrees. Ning feels a sharp pang of guilt seeing her so upset, but deep down, he knows it's the right thing to do. As she leaves with her father, Ning hopes this will lead to a better, safer future for her. It's a bittersweet moment for sure, but Ning handles it with the maturity and care we've come to expect. The next scene shifts to Ning meeting his father, Ji Yishuan, who represents him with a special Wanli Wuzong talisman. This talisman isn't just a fancy trinket, it's a protective charm that will shield Ning as long as it remains unbroken. However, there's a catch. Its range only extends up to 10,000 miles. Ji Yishuan advises Ning to stay within its radius, but gives him the long-awaited freedom to explore outside the palace. This is massive news for Ning, who's thrilled about finally stepping beyond the palace gates without restrictions. Of course, Zur, Ning's mother, isn't entirely on board with this. She worries about the dangers her son might face out there, but Yishuan, ever the composed and confident father, reassures her. He believes in Ning's potential and sees these challenges as necessary steps for him to grow into a capable man. Meanwhile, we find Chunkeo sitting quietly on a mountaintop, far from the palace, her expression heavy with sadness. Her father, noticing her gloom, tries to console her. He explains that taking her away from the palace was for her own safety, especially considering the dangers the snake demon's attack had brought. But Chunkeo feels a deep sense of shame. She believes she let Ning down by leaving him in such a critical moment. She worries that this might have damaged their bond forever and fears he may never be as kind to her again. Her father tries to argue, emphasizing that Ning is a good man who will understand her situation, but Chunkeo remains unconvinced. As their conversation continues, a shadow looms overhead. A massive snake demon slithers across the sky, heading directly towards the palace. Chunkeo and her father freeze, realizing the very danger he feared is unfolding before their eyes. The sight of the serpent leaves them both in silent dread. It's a stark reminder of why he wanted to keep Chunkeo away from the palace in the first place. Our boy Ning is out on a little adventure with Uncle Bai and Kiyui, enjoying the peaceful vibes of Dongsheng's. While Uncle Bai takes a nap, Ning starts exploring and stumbles upon a nest of birds. He's all excited to check it out, but just as he's about to grab the nest, a sneaky snake appears and sends him tumbling out of the tree. Talk about bad timing. To make things worse, a girl nearby grabs the whole thing and can't stop laughing at him. Feeling super embarrassed, Ning decides to insult the snake, calling it ugly, but the girl's not having it. She demands he apologize. Ning, being his stubborn self, refuses because, well, why should he? But then she transforms into a snake right before his eyes, and Ning realizes he might have bitten off more than he could chew. Meanwhile, two shady characters nearby who seem to be practicing some dark magic notice the fight. One of them, Team Uzai, is impressed by Ning's skillful dodging, even though he hasn't struck back yet. His servant, on the other hand, isn't so impressed and thinks Ning is just flailing about. But Team Uzai can see Ning's potential and is curious to see what happens next. Back at the fight, the snake girl gets a solid hit on Ning, breaking his ribs. But thanks to Ning's amazing ability to heal himself, he bounces back stronger than ever. Now, he's mad and the fight heats up. Every move gets more intense, and even the mysterious duo is glued to the action, excited to see how it all unfolds. So, who's going to win this epic showdown? Stick around for the next part of Legend of Jade Sword to find out. And hey, if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're here to keep your anime hype alive. Thanks for tuning in.